Just as a heads up, guys, this video will contain some spoilers for those of you who have never watched Star Wars The Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels the animated series, both of which I will be making references to throughout the entire video. There are certain things I do have to mention that are pivotal moments for Ahsoka Tano's character. But the fact that she's even in The Mandalorian in the first place in itself is kind of a spoiler because, you know, she obviously doesn't die in Star Wars The Clone Wars or Rebels. This video is really for those of you who have never heard of Ahsoka Tano before The Mandalorian, but for those of you who are well aware of who she is and what her story is, this will be a nice little refresher video for you. So either way, hope you guys can sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Hey fellow Force users, what is up? It's Ahsoka Tano fan and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't guessed what today's video is going to be about by my shirt, it is going to be about my favorite character of all time, none other than Ahsoka Tano herself. What better person to hear this stuff from than Ahsoka Tano fan herself. So who is Ahsoka Tano? Ahsoka was the Padawan learner to Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, and she made her debut in Star Wars The Clone Wars, the movie and animated series. The movie basically kicked off the animated series, and the entire series takes place in between episodes 2 and 3 of the Star Wars live action movies. So it's right during the time where Anakin Skywalker is not yet Darth Vader. Ahsoka was born in the year 36 BBY, aka before the Battle of Yavin, on planet Sheely. She is of the Togruta species, so she's the same species as Shakti. She was discovered at the age of 3 by Jedi Master Plo Koon himself, who brought her to the Jedi Temple. With the onset of the Clone Wars, Yoda ended up assigning Ahsoka to Anakin Skywalker. Now, at the time, there was actually a lot of controversy surrounding Ahsoka's character because a lot of people did not like the idea of Anakin having a Padawan, because in the movies, as we know, he was never granted the rank of master. So a lot of people thought, who is this girl? This doesn't really make sense to the story, what's going on? So there's kind of a lot of people who did not like that, but for those of us who actually watched the entire series, you'll see that her character fits extremely well into the story and actually supplements the story overall. As a side note, if you're kind of wondering why she's got those teeth looking things on her lekku, her headdress, it's because she defeated an Akko creature on her homeworld, which is extremely rare to do. And so it just kind of speaks to her talent and her skill as a warrior. So Anakin did not really like this idea of having a Padawan, as you'll see in the Clone Wars movie if you watch it. At the beginning, their relationship was a little bit rocky. She was overly ambitious, basically, so she made a lot of mistakes. There was a moment in season 1 of the Clone Wars during the Battle of Ryloth where, for instance, she lost her entire squadron because she disobeyed orders, and there was another time where she was told to get in the escape ship and she wasn't listening because she thought she could defeat the battle droids, basically, and it wasn't until she finally listened that she realized that she was about to be overrun and get all of her men and herself killed. The fact that she was kind of a little bit reckless at times and made mistakes and didn't always listen was definitely one of her character flaws in the beginning, but we would soon see how much she would grow from this. Anakin referred to her behavior early on as snippy, and therefore that earned her the nickname Snips, as we see him refer to her many times throughout the series. Over the course of the Clone Wars, Ahsoka and Anakin developed a very close relationship, very deep bond that we would see continue to grow as Ahsoka matured and as she learned more from her mistakes and learned from those around her. There would be moments in the series where if something happened to one of them, you really see the other person do whatever it takes to keep them safe. There was a moment in the series where Anakin was injured in a blast and Ahsoka made sure that she looked after him. Another moment where one of the bounty hunters from the Clone Wars series called Cad Bane who's honestly like one of my favorite villains. He tried to kill Anakin while he was unconscious, and Ahsoka literally just like jumped over him and made sure that nobody came close to her master. They really grew to care for one another like family, and that was ultimately the point of their relationship, because eventually Anakin would have to at some point learn to let go. And we all know that Anakin has always had problems with his emotions, and that is one of the reasons why he turned to the dark side. As the Clone Wars went on, Ahsoka really grew in many different ways. She honed her skills as a warrior by engaging many different opponents, including Ventress, Grievous, Bounty Hunter Cad Bane. She even encountered Boba Fett and Aurra Sing at one point, and Bo-Katan, who she is now allies with, but it wasn't always that way. They actually used to be enemies at the very beginning. And so she really honed her skills against these people, and one can even say that she was definitely skillful for her age. She also learned a lot from those around her. She was introduced to Captain Rex in the Clone Wars movie, and he kind of became a mentor for her, and we would see them grow to be really close friends over the course of the series as well. She also learned from Padme. There was one time where Padme took her to visit a senator friend of Padme's who's actually a separatist, and that was actually an eye-opening experience to Ahsoka, because it was the first time she realized that the war was not so black and white and that there was a lot of gray in between. She even helped rebels on the planet Onderon who were struggling against their corrupt government, taught cadets on Mandalore about corruption. There was a moment during season 3 in an arc called the Mortis arc where Ahsoka actually died and was resurrected by this character called the Daughter, who represented the light side of the Force. And Mortis was basically this weird realm-like planet that was kind of like a living embodiment of the Force. And you had the Daughter, who represented the light side, the Son, who represented the dark side, and the Father, who was the balance between the two. And then Anakin was supposed to be the one to bring balance to them. So Ahsoka basically had died here, but was resurrected. And so that is how Ahsoka and the Daughter have the bond that they do. And later on in Rebels, you would see this reflected in the convor known as Morai, who is an embodiment of the Daughter. So in The Mandalorian, if we see Ahsoka and we see this little bird-looking thing, which is the convor Morai, following her, that's the embodiment of the Daughter from the Clone Wars. In season 5, she was actually framed for bombing the Jedi Temple, which also resulted in many deaths. The people that she had trusted this whole time, the Jedi Council, had kind of given up on her, expelled her, handed her over to the military, and kind of let them deal with her. And the whole time it was a struggle to try and prove Ahsoka's innocence. Anakin was able to find the real perpetrator, but at that time the damage was essentially already done, and Ahsoka felt that she could no longer really trust the council, and I think she ultimately kind of questioned whether or not the Jedi Order was really for her, and so she chose to walk away from the Order. If I had my channel back then, guys, and if you could have seen my reaction, it was such an emotional episode. It really was one of the top emotional episodes of this entire series, and probably in Star Wars. It was a turning point for Anakin as well, because he regarded Ahsoka's departure as one of his failures, and it also contributed to his own distrust of the Jedi Council. And so those two combined have arguably contributed to Anakin's eventual downfall and turn to the dark side. Many have challenged that had Ahsoka remained a part of the Order, that she could have prevented Anakin from turning to the dark side. In season 7 of the Clone Wars, we would see Ahsoka return to Anakin and Obi-Wan, but this time with Bo-Katan, who we also saw in The Mandalorian, and who Ahsoka first met back in season 4. And together they would work to try and liberate Mandalore from Darth Maul's rule. In order to do that, they enlist the help of Republic forces, and this battle will be known as the Siege of Mandalore. While Ahsoka is given her own legion of clones to help fight alongside Bo-Katan, Anakin and Obi-Wan are called away to rescue the Chancellor in what is the beginning of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Yes, Revenge of the Sith coincides with the end of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated series. So then we see Ahsoka reunited with Anakin, and she ends up becoming a part of the Order again, right? No, we actually see Order 66 happen during the series, but this time from the perspective of Ahsoka and her cloned Captain Rex. The two of them struggle to fight off clone forces that are trying to execute them, and ultimately end up escaping, but with a great cost. Ahsoka's next chronological appearance would be in Star Wars Rebels, where she operated under the code name Fulcrum. There was actually an Ahsoka book released in 2016 that describes the events that happened to Ahsoka between the end of the Clone Wars and the beginning of Rebels. It explains how she went from hiding to meeting Bail Organa and joining the rebellion. In this book, it would also be explained how she obtained her white lightsabers that we would see appear in Rebels. During Ahsoka's time in Rebels, she assists the Ghost Crew in their fight for peace and eventually duels her former master, Darth Vader. She does survive her duel with Darth Vader, obviously, or she wouldn't be in The Mandalorian. At the end of the Rebels series, which takes place after Return of the Jedi, we see Ahsoka and Sabine going on their journey to search for Ezra Bridger, who went missing in action. And there you guys have it. That's how she ends up in The Mandalorian. There's a rumored Rebels sequel series that is supposed to be in the works. We are not sure still if this is supposed to coincide with the timeline of The Mandalorian, or if it's supposed to occur before The Mandalorian or after The Mandalorian. If I had to guess, I would assume that it would be coinciding with The Mandalorian. So when The Mandalorian meets Ahsoka Tano, we can assume that some time has passed since the end of Rebels. We're not sure if that time is going to be shown in the Rebels sequel series, or if the sequel series is going to start right after they meet in The Mandalorian. That's basically Ahsoka's story, guys, and that's who she is. Obviously, there's like so much more detail and so many episodes that Ahsoka has been in. I mean, like, we're talking Star Wars The Clone Wars the movie and 7 seasons of Star Wars The Clone Wars, along with 4 seasons of Star Wars Rebels. This is literally just a quick overview of who she is for those of you who don't know, but I highly recommend that you actually do take the time to watch these 2 animated series, because I promise you it will enrich your knowledge of Star Wars as a whole. I can say that for myself. It definitely adds so much more to the live action movies, and it will no doubt add so much more to the Mandalorian TV series and future series to come. Ahsoka essentially went from being someone who wasn't liked by many in the beginning, who many people would not accept as being Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, to arguably like one of the most important and significant characters in Star Wars, period. And so she really has had one of the best character development I've ever seen, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that. So for those of you who have never watched it, definitely go and do that. You will not regret it, I promise. Let me know your thoughts down below about Ahsoka. Also, let me know if I missed anything. There's a lot to cover, so it's possible. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I will do the same back. And until next time, guys, take care and see you in the next video.